Move now to our ongoing power crisis. It's stage 6 for now 5 days in a year that has seen intense rolling blackouts. With about half the grid capacity offline, the cuts amount to between 10 and 12 hours without electricity every day. While it's officially stage 6, many people are predicting stages 7 and 8 are likely to become a reality during the worst of winter power demand. And we're not even there yet. Some even believe we may have already got there in terms of those higher stages. Well, let's speak to the CSIR, that's the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. They monitor the hours without power and track the grid capacity. I'm joined by senior researcher at the CSIR, Monique le Roux. Monique, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it's been 5 days of stage 6. We've seen stage 6 before, but I'm not sure if it's been this consistent. Is it safe to say that we're in our worst patch of load shedding so far?
Hi, good evening, Sally. Yes, absolutely a resounding yes. We've seen this week, it trended in the news and on Twitter, that this week we have gone past the mark, which means that now in 2023 we've had more load shedding in these months up to the 10th of May than we've had in the whole of 2022, which is an absolutely new low for Eskom.
Wow, that really is bad. And we know that especially the latter part of 2022 was really pretty rough. The question that people keep asking is, are we really only on stage 6? And we know that stage 6 means that 6,000 megawatts need to be shed off the grid. But we also know that Eskom takes out more power through load reduction, which is, I think, cutting traditional non-paying areas, and also load curtailment, which is where big businesses are asked or forced to cut back on power usage. So if we take out all that, are we still on stage 6 or not?
Yes, Sally, I mean, it's difficult to say because that's where the technicality comes in. Eskom doesn't like it, and you can understand why when people say that we're actually technically in stage 7, but that should be correct because, yes, 7,000 megawatts have been unavailable from the grid. I know on the 13th of April, it was more than 7,000 megawatts, and then Eskom was officially only shedding 6,000 in load shedding, which means via the traditional load shedding schedules, and 1,000 megawatts came from cutting power, as you mentioned, from big businesses through power curtailment. Those are, for instance, the mines, which they've got contracts with to reduce power during certain times of the grid. So it seems like Eskom really has got this push and this drive to avoid as much as possible announcing a stage 7. But we feel that's probably very close. And we feel technically, yes, we can say that we've been in stage 7 because 7,000 megawatts have been unavailable and unsupplied.
So we have had a total, I think in the last week on one particular day, I'm not sure what today's figures, around 25,000 megawatts unavailable. I think on this day it was 19,000 megawatts due to unplanned events, breakdowns, and then about 4.5, if not more, of planned outages. In other words, the maintenance that they're trying to do. But that combined works out to about half our grid being offline. Is my maths correct?
No, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's really scary to make these calculations. Our total capacity in South Africa is around 55 gigawatts. And then, yes, as you say, 25 has been offline via unplanned and planned outages. So that is almost half of the capacity. And that really gives us a good look into what needs to get done to get us out of this crisis. We know we've got enough capacity, but it just means Eskom needs to manage unplanned outages better. 19,000 megawatts of power that's unavailable, that would go a very long way towards getting us out of load shedding if they can get that plant available and back on the grid.
Do you have any understanding of why we've been so consistently in stage 6 this week in particular? I mean, there's lots of talk about what happened in Botswana a few days ago where their grid collapsed. We know that we actually get some power, a little bit, from Botswana. But do you have any understanding of why we are consistently now in stage 6 and what this means for our energy availability factor, I would imagine, continuing to slide?
Yes, absolutely. So everything at the moment is about how Eskom can manage their unplanned outages. So if we're sitting around 19,000 megawatts of unplanned outages, that means this time of year that we will be in stage 6. We know that previously at the end of last year, Eskom had 21,000 megawatts of unplanned outages. So that's a very likely scenario that could hit us this winter. And if we're looking at 21,000 megawatts of unplanned outages, that means we will definitely be in stage 7 officially through load shedding and even stage 8. I wouldn't say in my opinion that what's been going on at Botswana really has much of an impact on us. Their grid is really small and they supply a little bit of power and vice versa. So I don't think that really has much bearing on what's happening in our country at the moment.
Talk to me about the energy availability factor. I mean, I think in 2019 it was up close to something like 70%, and now we are hovering around 50%, or is it even lower now?
Yes, it fluctuates from week to week. We've seen, and we've got all those figures and the statistics, we've seen consistently from 2017 that energy availability factor has shown a decline, like a linear decline throughout the years, and this has definitely continued into 2023. As you rightly say, we're sitting around 55, 54%, but at times that dips even lower, below that. I think the latest value is around 53%. If you just look at the coal fleet, that's much lower. Eskom's other power stations actually pull them up a little bit. For the coal, we're looking at like 46% availability, which is really absolutely very low.
Yeah, that is. Your predictions for winter, do you think we're going to see stage 8?
Yes, as I said, it all depends how Eskom manages the unplanned outages. At the moment, it doesn't seem like they're doing that very well. I think it's very likely that sometime this winter we'll see 21,000 megawatts on unplanned, which means we'll go into stage 7, stage 8. I think it's very likely that we'll see that in the coming weeks.
All right. Well, thanks for chatting to us this evening. Always good to talk to you, just to get a sense of where we are exactly. Senior researcher at the CSIR, Monique le Roux.